I'm sitting here putting some work in. Boy, oh boy, did Billy Joe Saunders screw the pooch. So if you didn't see his last fight, after almost not fighting in the year, remember, his last fight was in December of 2015 when he won the WBO 160-pound title from Andy Lee. Okay? He hasn't fought in a year. So many names have come up between Curtis Stevens to Gabriel Rosado to a rematch with Chris Eubank Jr., to Golovkin, and in this video we're going to talk about the Canelo situation. So just so happens today I had a chance to interview Oscar De La Hoya just less than 2 days after Billy Joe Saunders had that, whatever that was, against Wolverine Artur Akavov. I'm TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. Right now it is December the 6th, 2016, 8:12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and basically, Billy Joe Saunders did not look good. Okay, we can talk about it. He looked like shit. He'll say he looked like shit. And he's saying now that it's because he blew up to 210 pounds, and I'm guessing one of the reasons why a lot of his fights have been getting pushed back because maybe he was having trouble making the weight. So he probably was telling Frank, his promoter Frank Warren, Frank, listen, I'm going to lose this belt on the scales. We got to, give me a couple more weeks. We've been hearing about knick-knack injuries all over the place and everything like that. And we've been wondering why he hasn't been fighting. And maybe it's because he couldn't make weight. But just so happens, his name has been heavily involved with the likes of Saul Canelo Alvarez and Golovkin, but he didn't want the Golovkin fight. So all that pump faking is a basketball term, and it means you're acting like you're going to shoot the shot to try to get people to bite for it, to jump, to try to, he's been pump faking. He really wants Canelo because of the money, and he feels with his slick style, he can outbox Canelo by movement. But without the punch activity, as we've seen against Wolverine was laying hands on him. And Wolverine looked just like he looked from round one to when the fight was over. Billy Joe did no damage, but guess it was his healing ability, He heals. Anyway, let's get back to being serious. De La Hoya said, in interviews right here on the channel, that, he can still fight, and I'm just paraphrasing, he can still fight Canelo, but we're going to have to go back to the table. I'm now officially saying that we offered him before in the past, so De La Hoya confirmed that there were talks. And they offered Billy Joe Saunders some money. I want to know what that money was. And now they're saying, well, there's going to be half of that now. And Billy Joe knew he fucked up because he's like, damn, I'm going to fight my two mandatories. But here's where things get crazy. If Canelo officially moves to 160, the WBO, because they want that money, and they want Canelo to be one of their champions of their organizations, they're going to say, you move to 160, we'll make you the mandatory. So it's so many different ways it can go. So now I'm really interested in who Canelo's going to fight next, or who he may fight. I did miss one question. I still have more interviews and more videos uploading. I did have one or two questions that I missed. I wanted to ask for one, how many times Canelo's going to fight in 2017. He would have most likely said 3, right? And then I would have said, what names are out there, that you are considering? Because I remember when I first interviewed him in November, first interview ever in life in November of 2014, he told me about James Kirkland and all the names they were thinking about before Canelo even fought James Kirkland, which was 6+ months later or something like that. So there's so many things to talk about, but I'm going to do a little bit more research, and now we have to see what Billy Joe Saunders has to say, and also one of his mandatories is likely going to be 5'4". I forgot to pronounce his name, Kurtsidis. I'm sorry, I'm butchering his name, but I'm going to get it right. He's a Lou DiBella fighter. He recently upset, was it Antoine Douglas? Which one is the one? I always get Antoine Douglas and Marcus Brown confused for some reason, but they're in 2 different divisions. I believe it was Antoine Douglas. Which one's the one? Was it Marcus Brown? I forgot. I'm sorry. For some reason, well, anyway, they both got upset, you know. But the point is, he's number one ranked by the WBO. If I'm right. And then the WBO may say, okay, fight him, but then your next man, the Turbin Canelo, move up, going to be Canelo, or you fight him, or we're going to give the belt to Canelo, and they would love to do that. They would love to do that. So, a lot of times when I go to these media events and everything and I interview these people, I just want to ask the stuff that matters, because you get a lot of people not going to understand. They're just doing their job. They answer a lot of questions that don't mean anything. And if you cover boxing as much as I do and watch as many interviews as I've watched over the years, you know that these people always say the same shit. So why waste your time? There's certain questions. For example, I can say, well, Oscar, will Canelo versus Golovkin happen in 2017? And he'll say something like, oh, yeah, well, it's definitely a possibility. It's going to happen. We're just letting it simmer, and we put the offer out there, and it's up for them, and bullshit, and bullshit, and bullshit, and bullshit, So that's why certain questions I don't, work smart, not hard. Work smart, not hard. Simple as that. So I'm not going to be asking, it's certain questions, don't get me wrong, you have to ask. But I'm not going to be out there asking Oscar, well, what is it like to have Bernard Hopkins fight in the Forum in L.A.? What does that mean to you? You can get that information from somebody else. But however, the question was asked about like why they asked Hopkins, why you're not fighting in Philly, and you should have saw it. I'm not gonna put him out there. It's not my place. It's not my place. But the reason was not valid in my opinion. TstreeT Controversy Live. All the links to my social media right down below in the description box. Oh, my bad. Right down below in the description box. Please subscribe, like, comment, share. We're moving on up. 2017 is going to be the year. I've been saying, listen, we're moving up. Please subscribe.